And now,
Real cases before a real judge.
enter the courtroom of Judge Mathis.
Plaintiff Caitlin Vincent started dating the defendant when she was 17 years old, and they eventually got married and had a child. Caitlin claims they started fighting constantly, and they both cheated on each other, so they separated. And she's suing him today for rent and stolen property. Defendant Christopher Vincent says Caitlin's family never wanted them together, and the first night they met, her family pulled out Christopher's criminal record. Christopher admits he pawned Caitlin's property, but says they needed the money.
Give me some background.
Your Honor, I met the defendant when I was 17. We worked at a 50s diner together.
How long ago was that?
It was 8 years ago.
Okay.
Whole 9 yards, poodle skirts, everything. At first, I absolutely despised the defendant.
Why?
When the first thing that he ever said to me, I was back in the kitchen, which is where he worked. He was a cook. I was bending over to pick something up, and he made a sexual comment to me about he hoped that the slit in the back of my skirt would rip so he could see what was underneath.
That's terrible. Go ahead. You shouldn't have said it. Say it to yourself.
We became friends and eventually started dating. Fell in love very quickly. We were engaged 2 months after we started dating. Decided to get married on our 5-year anniversary. Found out I was pregnant 2 months before our wedding. Everything was great at first. The last year was when it started going south.
Why?
We fought constantly over money. There was no communication skills. We seemed to talk to everybody except for each other. Both became interested in other people at some point or another. And finally, just the last straw was on the 23rd. Came home.
You're telling me about the rent and stolen property. Let me allow him to get some background.
Okay.
Sorry?
Just to continue from where she left off, everything she said's true. We were, together for about 8 years. In the beginning, first time I met her family, her stepfather brought up my criminal background from
How did he know?
when I was 15, I guess public record, printed it out and threw it on the table right in the middle of Olive Garden.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to
I
laugh.
don't remember him printing it out.
You just meet the family as he pulls his chair back to sit down. I can see him slamming it on the table.
I don't think he
Is this
printed it
you?
out. He might have brought it up.
What's that?
I don't think he printed it out. He might have brought it up, but I don't think he brought
It didn't print it out and
anything
slam it on the
out.
table before he could sit down.
It was printed.
Go ahead, sir.
So
that became a point
That
of
was an
discussion,
issue with
obviously.
me.
Huh?
That was an issue with me. First time meeting them, kind of felt disrespected. But from that point on, they just never let my background disappear.
You were working at that point?
Yes, I've been working.
How long had it been since you had any trouble?
At that point, I think I was 19. I had been arrested when I was 15, so it had been about 4 years.
Yeah, and they're still hanging on
You
to
were
that.
18 when we
Go
met.
ahead.
3 years.
So
Stayed out of
what
trouble
happened
since,
after
but
that with her and the family?
Her family always kind of put their nose in, didn't really want us together, tried to get us to separate, things like that. And it just caused fighting in a relationship. And then it led into the, us cheating on each other and really just growing apart, failed marriage.
All right, let's get to the rent and the stolen property you're suing him about.
Okay. Chris has very poor money management skills, so he always paid the rent. That's one bill for him to be responsible for. I took care of everything else.
When did he fail to pay his rent?
I found out on May 23rd. I came home from work, and there was a letter saying that we had 7 days to pay or vacate. Chris and I got in a huge fight about it. A week later.
How much was the rent?
The rent was $550 a month.
Okay. Stolen property?
The stolen property, I had made an agreement with the landlord for me to keep the apartment as long as I didn't fall behind on rent. So I had 7 days to come up with the rent. I had found someone to purchase my flute and piccolo, which was worth $1,855. I came home to pick up the instruments so I can go and sell them so I could keep the apartment, and they weren't there. I searched the whole house, top to bottom. I called the defendant, and at first he denied it. Then later on,
Let me give you some insight here. You tell me whether this is what happened or not. When a man comes home and suddenly he tells you he doesn't have his rent money for a couple of months, that's because he's paying his woman's rent. When you come home and some of your money is stolen or it's missing or items are missing, because he pawned it and gave it to his women. All right? See that? Look how he's smiling. Look how he's smiling. And if I don't know men, I don't know nothing. Go ahead. What did he tell you happened, or what do you believe happened? Go ahead, ma'am.
I know he pawned them. At first, he denied it. I have, I have text messages admitting that he pawned them.
Sir, did you give him, you tell me about this.
The previous rent, it was a situation of we had fell behind on a lot of bills over a period of months. It's not something she didn't know about. The flute and the piccolo, I pawned them without her knowing about them. We needed the money.
I had told him
didn't
not
have
to
the
Where's the
pawn
money,
anymore.
sir?
Didn't have the money. to
Where's
pick
the
them up.
money, sir?
The money got spent.
There's that smile.
It didn't get spent on bills.
I done told you where it got spent. And you see the man grinning.
At first, he told me that he would pay me for
How
this.
long did it take you to put him out?
He moved out the next day.
There you go.
I moved out the
Did you
next
find
day.
the woman and get your money back?
No.
Where's the woman? Where's the woman?
I don't know. I don't talk to her no more.
Oh.
Women, you better listen to the judge. Find the woman and get your money back?
No.
Where's the woman? Where's the woman?
I don't know. I don't talk to her no more.
Oh.
Plaintiff Caitlin Vincent is suing her estranged husband, who admits that he and Caitlin cheated on each other while they were together.
All right, you have a tape recorder there.
I do.
Anything
I
you
have
wanna
a
play?
recording, him admitting that he was going to pay me for the flute and the piccolo, and he's since said that he won't. So he told me to go ahead and take
Let
him
me
to
hear
court.
it.
I told you I'd take care of it. You told me you'd give me $450 for the two of them on Monday. And now you're telling me today that you're not.
If you want to live, that's fine. If not, you go buy your paper and do whatever you want to. I don't care.
All right?
But I don't really know what the mom's talking about.
Value, but if I'm going to have to take you to court for it, then I'm going to go for the full replacement value.
I was going to give you money for it. You want to be I'm not going to give you if there's anything about money, you want to hang up.
That's enough, ma'am. I've heard him.
I also
All right.
have a.
Ma'am, I don't mean to insult you, but was that flute a crack pipe in reality? No. All right. Dope addicts, some of them crackheads, that's what they call them, flutes.
I have estimates
Make
of.
music. Rock stars. All right, go ahead. Put that rock in that flute, doctor. I'm sorry, ma'am. You all divorced yet?
We are separated.
Well, ma'am, it sounds like you have every right to the items that you say were stolen or taken, or you have half of a right, quite frankly, because they're joint assets. Any items you have, unless you brought that into the relationship prior
I did.
to your
I
marriage.
have a letter stating when
Okay.
I received them, as well as the estimates
This
of
is
the
the
items
flute?
and the piccolo.
All right. I'll grant you, ma'am, for the stolen property, $1,855 because you brought that into the marriage.
And the rent. I have
No.
statements from the landlord
No,
saying that
you all
he
were married.
Okay.
So it's joint debt. Have a good day. Judgment for the plaintiff.
You know, I just think that you should at least pay the rent. I mean, that was the agreement from day one.
I don't mind helping with the rent.